All right, welcome to Faith Family Football, where grit meets glory and every play echoes with purpose. I'm Fendi, you can call me D, and today we're diving deep into the monumental moment, which was the season opener for unranked FSU, my alma mater, against number 8 Alabama. The Seminoles shocked the world the 31-17 upset at Doak Campbell Stadium. Over the next few moments, we'll break this game down play by play with stats, timing, and just my overall reaction to the game, which may go down as the turning point in Norvell's tenure. So let's huddle up, dig in, and get right to it. This is Faith Family Football Podcast. First things first, before we even get into the football aspect of it, we just want to send some prayers up for the family of Ethan Pritchard. For Ethan Pritchard, he's a freshman linebacker at FSU. He unfortunately, I don't have all the details right now, but um, according to news reports, he was shot late Sunday night in Havana, which is right outside of Tallahassee. So we just want to take a moment to have a moment of silence just to send up some prayers for him and his family. All right, and we just hope that that young is going to be okay, and we know he's going to be okay. We know the team has been pretty supportive. I heard Mike Norvell said that he was at the hospital, and I'm sure some of his teammates were at the hospital, and everyone, this team has really become a big family from what I can tell. So I'm pretty sure that the team has been impacted by it, and all nothing but positive vibes and positive thoughts to this young man, Ethan Pritchard. All right. With that being said, and some things are just better or bigger than football. And on this podcast, we do allow to talk about the faith part. This is a family podcast, and so we definitely want to treat our players like family and just address things like that. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna review these stats. Let's look at the team stats first of all before I even get into the stats. Um, if you remember in 2023, FSU went 13-0. They were undefeated in the regular season, won an ACC championship. They were bound for the college football playoff. Everyone in the world knew that they were going to get into this playoff, and everyone is aware of the big snub. Now, I myself, I had a lot of emotions around that because, all of my life I've kind of grown up learning and knowing that, hey, the game is played on the field. And if you go out and you win the game, you get to move on or you get to, go play the next game. And um, you can tell the amount of emotion from and in 2024 having this 2-10 season and just the amount of emotion that was within the coaches, within the players, seeing the FSU fans storm the field after beating Alabama. That was amazing. And that's something, while I was at FSU, I never got to experience storming the field, but I thought it was just an amazing atmosphere from what I could tell. And I just want to kind of dig into that. So let's get into some of the team stats. So Alabama came out of this game with 341 total yards, FSU with 382 total yards. Only split by like 40 yards. And so if I were to just tell you that, you would have thought, okay, maybe this game was close, or as everyone prognosticated, as everyone thought, you may have thought that Alabama won this game. However, FSU did leave this game with a 31-17 victory. Go Noles. And let's talk about why that happened. As far as passing yards goes, 254 to 152. Alabama had 254 and FSU had 152. But we all know if you're a football fan, if you're really a football head, you know that it all starts with running. If you can run the ball, you got a chance. If you can stop the run on defense, you got a chance. And Alabama, I don't know in my lifetime that I've ever seen a game where Alabama only rushed for 87 yards total, but that's exactly what happened. So Alabama had 87 rushing yards total to FSU's 230 yards total. And I will venture to say that that made all the difference because FSU came with a different swagger this year, a different aura this year. They came to punch Alabama in the mouth. And not only did they come out and they punched Alabama in the mouth, but they kept punching, they kept punching, they kept punching till they punched their lights out. Um, so the running game was effective. I mean, quarterback Thomas Castellanos was electrifying. He was electric all night, made the right decisions all night. Now, his passing yards may not have been amazing by any stretch, but he did what he had to do, and he did what the game, he stayed to what the game plan was. So essentially, he played within what Gus Malzahn and Norvell wanted him to do, and that ended up in a victory. Yards per play, Alabama 4.7, FSU 6.1. When you look at first downs, pretty even. Alabama 18, FSU 20. Third down efficiency, 6 of 17 for Alabama, 5 of 12 for FSU. Fourth down efficiency, 2 of 5 for DeBoer and Alabama, 2 of 2 for FSU. So I also want to kind of, fourth down efficiency was amazing. I personally felt like DeBoer and Alabama, they really came out with a very arrogant mindset. Now we know our quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, he said in the offseason, hey, Saban's not here to save them. I don't see them stopping me. And a lot of people across the nation thought that, oh wow, this guy's coming from being benched at BC, first of all, at Boston College. Then, he's getting with this 2-10 squad and he's talking like this. Alabama's gonna have something to say about that. And normally I would agree with that. I would have said, hey man, but when you look at what FSU's been through, what Tommy Castellanos has been through the past couple years. I mean, he's gone from UCF to Boston College. He got benched. He lost his job at Boston College. And one thing I heard him say in his interview is that when he came to FSU, he came to a team where the players were desperate. They were desperate for a win. They were desperate to change the dialogue about them. They were desperate to turn it around, so to speak. And I feel like Castellanos probably felt the same. Like he heard the noise about him. He heard what other people said about him. And I just think that Castellanos felt like just the same that, hey, I'm going to change people's perspective about me. And he came out there to get back to my previous point. DeBoer, I feel like he blew it a lot on some poor play calling at key times. Specifically, when we talk about fourth down efficiency, specifically around fourth down efficiency, I just felt like he felt like FSU was just going to lay down, and just because they were Alabama, he can just run, I mean, fourth down, or he can just, call whatever play on fourth down and that it will be successful. Um, Tony White. Tony White, FSU defensive coordinator. Oh my goodness. I mean, you've heard stories about him. We know that he turned around Nebraska. He's very well spoken of in the coaching world as far as being able to coach defense and being able to get defenses turned around quickly. If I were to if I were a betting man, I would never have bet that he would have gotten our defense turned around this quickly. So shout out and kudos to the players, first of all, who are coachable. Shout out to coach because I can tell he holds players accountable, and it's very clear. It's very evident. Nobody just shows up and because of their name or whatever the case may be, or their recruiting ranking, thinking that they're going to start or thinking that they're going to play significant playing time. So when DeBoer, the first fourth down that Alabama didn't execute, I was like, okay, I mean, you got to test it out. You can't come out and play scared. But I just feel like there were opportunities, maybe, yeah, there were at least 3 opportunities where Alabama could have walked away with 3 points. Those 3 points could have really added up because if you have three opportunities at 3 points, that's 9 points right there. And so instead of having 17 points, maybe you have 26 points, and maybe that gives your team a little bit of momentum. And I just feel like, Alabama was, I don't feel like, I know Alabama was unprepared, as much as they just felt like, oh man, this is a trash team. We're just going to go over there. We're going to knock them out. The game will be over by the first quarter. We'll be dancing in Doak Campbell Stadium. That did not happen. And so, anyway, let's move along. So penalties. Alabama had 8 penalties for 70 yards. Undisciplined play to FSU's 4 penalties for 40 yards. Um, there were opportunities as far as turnovers and things like that where uh, Ty Simpson, I don't know how many passes that he had either batted or just broken up, where if our DB or if our defense would have been a little bit more aware or just had the ability to close in a little bit, that would have been an interception. And so I just want to send a major kudos, major shout out to the offense and the defense. I think every single player that played came to ball. Like I know they came to ball. And so like I just it's been a very long time. It's been, I mean, since 2023 that I've been able to really be happy after an FSU game. It's been a stressful past few months, but it was a welcome sight to see our team come out like that. Uh, Castellanos, 9 and 14, 152 yards. He had a rushing touchdown, no interceptions. Um, we talked about that. So let's talk about some players that kind of stood out when we talk about Makai Danzey. Okay. If you don't know this young man, get to know him. As you heard on the broadcast, he is a 45-second 400-meter runner. That wasn't the part that was shocking to me because that's something that I'm well aware of as a track fan also. And as just a FSU homer, like I'm aware of the speed that we have on this team. But I did not realize how strong Makai Danzey is. There were on both of his plays that he had, the one play that he scored on the left, and I think they ran the same exact play again, where he had players draped all over him. He had players grabbing him. He had players trying to hit him, and he was too fast, too strong, too big, too fast, too strong. And so that was welcome to see. So he was three carries for 56 yards with an 18.7 yard average. He scored a touchdown there. Ousmane Kromah, 7 carries for 31 yards, 4.4 average. One thing that stood out to me about Kromah, he is not afraid of the moment. He's physical, he's big, he's strong, he's physical. He gives off humility. I don't know the young man, but he gives off this humble vibe, like he really is here to learn. He's here to get better. And it was very telling that he got 7 carries, which was the most carries out of any FSU running back. Castellanos had 16 carries. That's the only person who had more carries than Ousmane Kromah. Then you have Gavin Sawchuk, 6 carries for 28, 4.7 yards and a touchdown, 4.7 yard average. Jalen Lucas, man, this kid is electric. And I know he had the fumbles, not a fumble, the punting situation where he was trying to get away and the ball just had one of those unlucky rolls and hit him in the leg, and that was a turnover for Alabama, which was unfortunate because I know that Lucas was at Indiana. He was a punt return specialist. He won awards for that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him grow. I hope he's not benched. I hope he doesn't lose his role for that because he's definitely a key cog in what we want to do this year. We just want to get him back comfortable out after his injury last year, get his legs back under him, get his timing back under him as well. And I think that young man will be fine. So I hope he doesn't lose his role as punt returner. He's amazing. He's electric. Roydell Williams, Unfortunately, my guy Rodell, we got the news that he is injured for some period of time. He'll be out. We don't know how long that amount of time is. We don't know the nature of the injury, but just praying for the best for him. Keziah Holmes, Big Dog had a run around the right side and scored a touchdown. That was great to see. He's someone that I've been rooting for to for a while to see more of him on the field. Very physical, fast, quick twitch guy. So it was great to see him. All right. So in the receiving game, first of all, if I didn't mention this already, shame on me. Offensive line. Offensive line. I know the offensive line has not had an opportunity to really gel together. We know that in the summer and in the spring, they didn't get a great opportunity to work with each other due to injuries and various things. And so that was a question mark. If you follow football, if you know football, offensive lines typically take a while to gel. They need that continuity. They need time to work with each other, to learn each other and learn the nuances and learn how to communicate. And so it would have been easy for them to come out and have miscommunications and just overall not do well. I don't think you could have bashed them or killed them on it just because they hadn't had that continuity. But man, when I tell you I was proud of this offensive line who bullied, I repeat, bullied Alabama's defensive line full of 5 stars, right? Full of 5 stars after 5 stars after 5 stars. And so that was incredibly impressive. Um, when it comes to, so definitely, I mean, that was awesome. So Randy Pittman Jr., I mean, I can't call out every single player, but all of these players stepped up. Marquarius White had a catch for 40 yards. Um, when it comes to, let's jump over now to the defense. When it comes to the defense, my star of the game, I'm torn, right? The whole defense, man, the entire FSU team, you guys just came and did what you had to do. I'm not there's not one player that played in this game that I look at and say, why was he in the game? Um, but Earl Little Jr., he's like a boomstick. He was just hitting. I mean, 4 tackles. Um, I believe he had 4 tackles in the game, and maybe assisted on 5 or something of that nature. This guy was everywhere and he was doing everything. He was communicating, he was keeping the team together, he was keeping cool heads in the backfield, and that was awesome to see. Justin Cryer, Juice. One thing about Juice is that he has this maturity about himself. He's where he needs to be when he needs to be there. He's vocal. He's a leader. He's articulate. And it was just great to see him just making plays out there, making stops. Jabril Rawls, Jeremiah Wilson. I mean, when we talk about the secondary in general, just remember or just understand the hype that comes with Alabama. They got these 3 receivers, the guy from Miami, Horton, you have Bernard, I think Jeremy Bernard is his name, who had a great game. Jeremy Bernard had a great game. So I'm not gonna he had over, I think, 150 yards in this game. But Ryan Williams was the one that I think everyone was afraid of getting loose. And if I'm able to pull up his stats real quick, because I want to see Ryan Williams in the Alabama receiving game caught 5 receptions for 30 yards. I'll take that any day. Jeremy Bernard had 146 yards, just as a correction on what I said earlier. So, I mean, 146 yards, he was balling. I mean, he balled out. But that's what we gave up in order to keep Ryan Williams under wraps. And I think we just did an amazing job of keeping one of the best receivers in the nation under wraps. And need I say, Williams was, in my opinion, he was afraid. I mean, he was seeing ghosts. They called it alligator arms. He was afraid to stick his arm out there. I think he got popped. And if I got this person wrong, feel free to say it in the chat. I think Ashlyn Barker is who popped him early, like on the first drive. And once he took that first hit, my man did not want to catch another pass. And that goes back again to the mentality of this FSU squad, this Knowles team, this Knowles brotherhood. That goes back to coaching. That goes back to the climb. That goes back to everything that they did over the spring and summer to build that mental toughness, that physical toughness to where they came out there and against a team that I've heard a lot of pundits, a lot of people saying that Alabama would be one of the favorite teams to win a national championship this year. And so I still believe that Alabama is that talented. I don't want to disrespect them by any measure, but I think they are incredibly talented, but I think that FSU wants it. And one thing that I said, we were watching the game with some of my buddies, and I said, um, Alabama wanted it, but FSU needed it. And I think that was the difference in the game. Like we need a victory. And we weren't leaving without a victory. And you're not just going to walk into our house and do whatever you want to anymore. That's the statement that I received from the team. And I just hope that we can continue on this path of just physical brutality against any opponent we step against. We want to send them home bruised up. We're not trying to injure anybody, but we want to send them home like they got to go soak in some Epsom salt. You know what I mean? So that was just great to see. But the defense, so I talked about Earl Little. I want to talk about Daryl Jackson because Daryl Jackson's probably the one person that his stats are not going to look great. But when you're eating up double teams and triple teams, you're allowing for your linebackers to make plays. You're allowing for the other defensive linemen to make plays. You're allowing for the pocket to be collapsing, so the team can make plays. And so even though Daryl Jackson may not get the most sacks on our team this year, I think he's literally one of the most important, if not the most important people on that defensive squad, just because of what he represents. He's a bully, and one guy's not going to guard him, and one guy's not going to block him, and in some instances, two guys are not going to block him. He's going to get to that quarterback. So if you line him up one-on-one, I don't care if it's Caden Proctor, I don't care who it's against. Daryl Jackson's going to make some noise, and that's good to see because a year ago uh he was not as physical as he needed to be all the time. You would see flashes of it, but it's so great to see him being a lot more physical and being a leader on this team, which you heard all off season that he was being a leader on this team. So that was great. That was great to see for sure. Um, Kicking game, I mean, we're not going to talk too much about it, but our kicker looks the part. He didn't have a lot of opportunities to kick yesterday, which is a great thing. But he looks the part so far. So we'll know more when we're actually in a tight game and he has to kick. He didn't really have to kick yesterday. Um, so let's talk about Alabama. So we talked about how Castellanos he balled out, man. For this kid, for this young man to call his own shot in the offseason and basically call Alabama soft and basically just saying like, I'm about to show you guys. And Alabama didn't do anything, but Ty Simpson, this kid's he's been sitting behind two prolific quarterbacks at Bama, and we didn't know what to expect. But I will say it was his first start. So I'm not going to put a whole lot on this game. But what I will say is I kind of expected him to be a little bit better in the passing game. But also, it goes back to coaching again. I don't feel like they put him in the best situations to be successful. And what I do know, his receivers outside of Bernard, they didn't do him any favors at all. His best running back, I mean, was Riley. We know about the injury to Jam Miller, I believe his name is, their starting running back, but that stuff doesn't matter. What I will say is Alabama got beat up in the trenches. They got beat up so bad that I don't think even if Jam Miller was there, that he would have made much of a impact because the O line just got whooped. I mean, FSU did whatever they wanted to do on offense and defense, and it was just very evident in this game that Alabama didn't come to play. They came with this mindset of we're Alabama, we're gonna throw our jersey or throw our helmet on the field, we'll walk out with a victory. That did not happen. That did not happen. So goes back to, FSU, they were the better coach team. They were the hungrier team. They were the most physical team. They were the aggressors. They had faith. They believed in each other. They believed in themselves. And so as we sat in the whole off season, we listened to people on the different channels. I don't even want to say that four-letter network. Different channels, how they were laughing at FSU and how they laughed at Castellanos, how they laughed at Mike Norvell, how they doubted. And what people don't often understand is what goes into a team because FSU is not just some team. FSU is a blue blood. FSU has tradition. FSU has pride. And you can only poke them so much until they realize, hey, we really are not living up to the standard that Bobby Bowden set. We're not living up to the standard that the guys before us set. And I'll even go as far as to say Jimbo Fisher, because before Jimbo Fisher decided to leave, he did a great job. He won a national championship here. So they weren't living up to the standard that those before them set. And I think one of the better things that happened to FSU was the snub. And it even was exasperated by the 2-10 season, where it brought a sense of urgency to remind players and remind coaches, like, hey, this is FSU, and restore that hunger. Because I think just like Alabama seems to be experiencing now, FSU, we got full of ourselves. We got to thinking that, oh, just because we're FSU, we can just step out there because we had like 15 straight seasons of top five finishes under Bobby Bowden. Jimbo Fisher, had one of the most prolific teams, if not the most prolific team in college football history. I think that's debatable. I believe it was quite possibly the most prolific team in college football history. Sometimes you get full of yourself and you start reading the news clippings and start thinking that you're just the greatest things since sliced bread. But one thing that all players need to understand and all teams need to understand is that there's always somebody coming for your spot. And so the moment you start to get complacent, the moment you start to think that, hey, we're just going to step out there and we're just going to run them over, that's not what's going to happen. And so things happen for a reason. It's unfortunate. You hate to see your team go through, such harsh times, and you have, people talking all kind of crap about your team. But you just got to keep believing. You got to keep rooting on your team. You got to keep cheering on your team. And just to that point, the the 12th man, from what I understand, the stadium was so electric on Saturday that, and I could see it as I was watching the game. Alabama, part of those penalties came from they couldn't communicate, they couldn't hear themselves. And you have Ty Simpson, while he's an older guy, but it's his first actual real start in a meaningful game. And so there were some nerves there, and I don't think they knew or expected Doak Campbell to be like this. And I've heard more than one credible source tell me, or not tell me, but say on their channels that it rivaled um, Death Valley. It rivaled Death Valley at LSU or at Clemson, and so. with the stadium renovations and things of that nature, I'm for sure, I was like, why would we be taking away seats? We need, all those seats. We need to be able to make noise. We need to be able to have our 12th man impact. And from what I see, FSU fans, we just did what we had to do. And that's what FSU fans do anyway. So I just want to give a major kudos, major shout out. I heard Castellanos say this over and over. I heard Coach Norvell say this. uh the 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 fans came through. Fans did what they had to do, and they were a major reason why FSU was able to do what they did. It works in all phases. The marching chiefs, come on. Ooh, I mean, such an iconic band, such an iconic war chant, such an iconic thing to where those Alabama players, they know about it. They've heard it on TV and they got to experience it. And it definitely had an impact on them. So most definitely that was that. So this game was about belief, and that's really what it was. So coaches believing their game plan, players believing in execution, and fans believing in the turnaround. Um, and I'll leave you with a scripture. Hebrews 11:1 reminds us, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. The 4th and 1 call reflected trust and preparation and teamwork and in timing. So it's all about believing. We're going to keep believing in this team. We're going to keep showing up for this team. We know that they're going to keep showing up, putting their best foot forward. Looking ahead, okay, with week 1 in the books, FSU is going to head into week 2 with a lot of confidence. We expect Castellanos to continue commanding the offense the way that he was. Running back rotation, we know Roydell's down, but we know they're going to stay strong. The defense is going to continue to play disciplined and aggressive. And that's all we can hope for. What I think in this next game, we're going to really learn about FSU. We're going to learn a lot about our team because if they have a letdown, we know mentally and maturity wise, they're not ready. But if they come out next week and they smack these boys 45-0, why not hang a 50 burger on them, right? If they do that, then it'll mean something. I think these next 2 games, we see them as just, cakewalks and things like that. And we should be successful in these next 2 games heading into Virginia. But one thing that I always see, teams that play down to their competition typically don't make it very far in college football or any sport for that matter. So even though we're going to be playing against 2 inferior teams the next 2 to 3 weeks before we hit Miami, we want to make sure that we're coming out there, we're cleaning things up. We're not going to look at it as a time to, for example, just coast. We're going to look at it as a time to really send a message to the college football world because past few years with under Norvell, we've lost a few games that we shouldn't have lost. So we just want to make sure we keep the pedal to the metal, keep our foot on the gas, all gas, no brakes. And like my brother always says, hey, let's put some paint where it ain't. And that paint is going to be garnet and gold paint. Let's make sure that we send a message. So to all FSU players, proud of you boys, man. Keep doing what you're doing. My prediction, I mean, I'm not going to really make a prediction on the next week game or next 2 games. We're going to win them. And then this Virginia game, we're going to win that one too. I believe we're going to beat Miami when we get there, but we're going to take it one step at a time. Okay. If I'm a player, I'm not worried about Miami. I'm not worried about Virginia. I'm worried about my next opponent. And that next opponent is East Texas A&M. That's September. That's going to be a noon September 6th. That's a noon game this next Saturday. Then we have Kent State coming up, and then Virginia, followed by Miami on October 4th. We're going to circle that October 4th, but man, to be honest with you, let's circle East Texas A&M. All right. We want to go out there, drop 50. Why not? Why not more? But if we can shut them out, let's shut them out. Defense, let's play strong. Coaches, stay on top of them. I love the new coordinators. I love, love, love the attitude that they brought back, the swag that they brought back to FSU, and we just want to keep on balling. All right, so that's a wrap on episode 1 of Faith Family Football. From belief to execution, this Knowles team reminded us why we love the game. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe and share with your fellow Knowles fans, and I'll see you next time.